All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we have two things to discuss. First being, it looks like the rumors and speculation are true. Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page is signed for UFC 319 on August 16th. And the reason I know it's official is because it's been posted on the UFC on TNT Sports official Twitter page. And I doubt the UFC would allow their UK broadcasting partner to post something like this without 100% confirmation. Now, as far as the fans' reception to this, it's kind of mixed opinions because for two reasons. One being the stylistic matchup, where a lot of people are saying that Jared Cannonier, he's not the fastest guy in the world, and he is over 40, and he's definitely been slowing down. Whereas obviously he can weather the storm and he can rally back and get the TKO. If you've seen the RoboCop fight of his just recent match, where it was not looking good for Cannonier in the first few rounds, and then he rallied in round 4 and got the TKO. It's very shocking because people thought that RoboCop was close to getting him out of there multiple times. However, MVP, he's just not a plodding, moving forward kind of guy. He has such dynamic, really good footwork. He's so fast. And I feel like he's going to do a similar approach to Adesanya where it's just going to pick him apart at range. And Cannonier is just not going to be able to find his shot because it's only 3 rounds. And MVP, he's a master at distance management and just being in and out of there. And unless Jared Cannonier kind of decides to wrestle, which he could, because that's the thing. Ian Gary was to be able to out wrestle him. So if a welterweight can out wrestle MVP, a middleweight definitely can. And then as far as ranking wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense either because MVP is ranked number 15 in welterweight and Jared Cannonier is number 7 at middleweight. So for Jared Cannonier, there's not a lot of upside because if he wins, then he beat an unranked welterweight or unranked middleweight, right? And if he loses, he'll go down immensely because being unranked and beating number 7, that'll knock him down at least 4, 5, 6 spots. So he'll find himself at around like 13, 14-ish, maybe 12 to be generous. But yeah, as far as MVP, same thing. If he beats Jared Cannonier, then he's top 7 in the world at middleweight, and they're going to expect him to stay there. Whereas if you look at the matchups that MVP can have above Jared Cannonier, Kyle Bahayo, really good grappling. So if Ian Gary can out-grapple you, then so could Kyle. Whitaker's booked. Adesanya, he doesn't want to fight Adesanya. Chimaev's fighting for the title. Strickland, I'm pretty sure they're going to do the Adesanya-Strickland rematch, so that's off the table. Then Nasruddin Imavov, who is also a really good grappler, and then Dricus, very good grappler as well as the champion. So as far as MVP's possible future, I feel like he has the best route to the top in welterweight because I get there is a lot of grapplers in welterweight as well, but I feel like MVP can kind of weather that kind of storm and maybe pick and choose his stylistic matchups and get more of a striker. Maybe he can get booked against Prates or Jeff Neal, Stephen Thompson, maybe if he wins. Obviously, you got Michael Morales up there. Joaquin Buckley's fighting Usman, so probably not. But I would like to see MVP come back to welterweight because same thing with Kevin Holland. I just don't think he has the grappling potential to deal with those guys at the top 5 of middleweight. So, yeah. I don't think this fight's going to be terrible. I just think Michael Venom Page clear 30-27 decision. And that's the thing. I feel like MVP, when I first started seeing him, like when he came to the UFC against Kevin Holland, I was like, holy shit, like seeing him go in and out lunging and it's crazy, all this movement and stuff. And I was like on the edge of my seat the whole time. And then you see this next fight and then this fight after that, it's just kind of like, I wish he was more active. And I feel like obviously he can't get the finish on Jared Cannonier. It's very possible, but he's so light on his feet and he's such a master at distance management and all that where he almost avoids risk, not entirely, but he's very risk adverse. Whereas like you compare him like a Holloway where just gets in there. And I get not everyone's going to fight like Holloway or a Topuria or whatever, but I would just like to see a bit more aggression and activity from MVP because I feel like it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like as much as he's going in and out and in and out, you look at his striking and volume count, it's not that high. And I really hope that Jared Cannonier shows up, good condition, and has a really good game plan for MVP because if you don't grapple with MVP, chances are you're not going to beat him on the feet. But it is possible because, like I said, he did rally behind the storm with RoboCop, and he got him out of there. So Jared Cannonier, never count him out. But as far as this one, I'm going to have to because, yeah, like I said, MVP, I just think he's too fast. Adesanya showed the blueprint how to do it. And Jared Cannonier has been through so many wars lately. You look at his last few opponents, like, let's take a look here. So he obviously demolished Vittori, and then he got into a real big, bad war with Imavov, and then he got into another war with Kaya Bahayo, and then after that, like I said, he did win against Robocop, but he was getting battered the first bit of that fight. So I feel like MVP definitely could get the TKO, but I just don't think he commits enough to get those real damaging shots and then following up. Like I said, obviously could, but I don't know. To me, if I had to pick early decision or early prediction, MVP 30-27, clear for the decision. Now, moving on. Aljamain Sterling. So he went on Ariel Helwani's podcast and he was asked, like, okay, who do you want next? So he said that ideally, he would like to have Brian Ortega as the next opponent. And if he can't get that one, then Arnold Allen. And then Ariel Helwani asked, he's like, what about Gene Silva? Which is a valid question because I feel like Aljamain Sterling, as much as he is a really entertaining fighter, like as far as grappling, I just don't think the UFC and his relationship has been great over the years. So I don't think they're just going to go around granting Aljamain Sterling these favorable matchups. Whereas I wouldn't be surprised if they offer him Gene Silva, but this is what Aljamain Sterling says. He says apparently he went backstage after or before the Bryce Mitchell thing. He's like telling the coaches, please don't call me out. I don't want to fight him right now. He says, I don't want to fight him. Well, I can fight him, but I don't want to fight him right now. I'm on a different trajectory right now. I want to do something different, and he's on a different trajectory. Where, to me, I'm like, it doesn't really make any sense because Gene Silva, obviously, he's gunning for the title, whereas Aljamain Sterling, he also said he wants to go for the title because if he's not going for the title, then what's the point of being in the sport? I think he literally said that in an interview recently, and that's the thing. He says, eventually we can meet up, but right now I don't want those problems right now. And he's like, I'm just being honest. And he's a tough cat to fight right now. And that's the thing. I respect the honesty, but at the same time, I really don't like when fighters talk like this because it's beyond humility. It's like he's kind of outright saying that he thinks he would lose, which obviously he's not directly saying that. But the thing that really pissed me off, like similar to this, was when Bilal Muhammad was saying how Makhachev was just kind of dominating him in the division or the training room. And literally, I was like foaming at the mouth, like screaming about it with my friends because I'm like, how the fuck are you the welterweight champion openly admitting that you get dominated by the guy below you, like in a lower weight class? It drove me insane. Whereas at least Aljamain Sterling, he's not a champion, so he's not outright ducking someone where he like John Jones. And like I said, I respect his honesty, but it's just not the right, I guess, wording for to be in the hurt business and outright saying that you don't want to fight someone because of how, dangerous and they don't want those problems. I really don't like when fighters say that kind of thing. Like I said, same thing with the Bilal thing. Like I get being humble and all that, but at the same time, you have to kind of promote yourself as the best fighter in the world. And for you to outright be like, nah, I don't want those problems, man. It's a very bad look. Whereas I feel like Aljamain Sterling, as much as the UFC and him are not on the greatest terms, I feel like they're not going to force that matchup because I think they kind of want to skyrocket Gene Silva up to the top and give him like Diego Lopez. Because you see in my other video, Diego Lopez said that he was offered Gene Silva and then he was offered Yair for the Mexico card or whatever. But yeah, hopefully that Yair versus, Diego versus Gene Silva gets booked because that's the fight that I really want to see. If we can't get Yair versus Diego Lopez, because obviously that backstory and history, that would be an amazing build-up. But yeah, I feel like Aljamain Sterling, the Brian Ortega fight would be really entertaining just because it's going to be a more grappling-heavy style. Whereas I feel like no one wants to watch either one of those guys strike for 3 or 5 rounds. So to see them grapple and mix it up, it would be very entertaining, similar to like the Movsar Evloev fight. And they're both submission hunters, where they're not just going to stall it. At least, I get Aljamain Sterling didn't go for a lot of submissions during the Cavalcater fight, but that was his first fight at 45, so I'll give him the pass on that. But yeah, to see those grappling exchanges would be really entertaining. And if Brian Ortega doesn't want that, I feel like Arnold Allen will also be a really good matchup as well, because you look at the rankings here. Let's take a look. Sorry. Okay. So Arnold Allen is ranked number 6. Brian Ortega is ranked number 7, and Aljamain Sterling is ranked number 9. So for Aljamain Sterling, like I said, he's not being unrealistic by any means, but Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they offer Aljamain Sterling someone lower than him, like a Yusuf Zalal or a David Onama or something like that, because like I said, they're not in the greatest standings with the UFC, but I really wouldn't mind to watch the Brian Ortega fight or the Arnold Allen fight. I feel like Aljamain Sterling has a lot more danger when it comes to the Arnold Allen fight because Arnold Allen packs a punch and he's definitely a better striker than he is a grappler. I don't know how well he'll be able to do against Aljamain, especially if Aljamain can get on his back and kind of stall it out. But yeah, no, I just like I said, I just don't really like when fighters outright kind of not duck, but admit or show too much humility. You know what I mean? Like you just don't want to be like in that kind of light because I feel like it's better to be delusionally optimistic than it is to be kind of pessimistic in this sport, and especially for like a selling value. It's just like no one really wants to see that kind of mentality because I've seen a lot of the fans were like complaining about it's like really like outright ducking Gene Silva, blah blah blah. And like I said, Aljamain, he said he would fight Gene Silva, just not right now. And that's the thing. They are both on the same trajectory. So I feel like if Aljamain Sterling wins his next one, he'll definitely be up there and they might fight in the future. But yeah, I'm fine if they don't book it. It is what it is. At least he's not a champion saying this about a contender. You know what I mean? But yeah, no. That's all I got to say. And thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one.